everybody. This is Jake Senziano, host of Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing good, bro. How you doing?
Always making it happen, big man. Guys, this is where we would normally plug something to pay the bills. Now for our listeners, we only showcase products and services that we approve of are used in our own business. This time, we're going to tell you about something of ours, specifically our Wheelbarrow Profits community. G-Dad, take it away.
Mr. Stenziano, you know we just came off a live event a little while ago. Over 400 people, multifamily investors. We're creating the Jake and Gino community. If you want to create financial freedom, create wealth for your family, passive income, you want to buy your first property, you want to scale up your portfolio, join us, jakeandgino.com. Jake's going to tell you where to find out more information. It's an awesome, awesome adventure.
Guys, you want to take it to the next level. You want to find out more about how you become part of our amazing community. Apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply. All right, enough shameless plugging. Let's get back to the show. Today's guest is none other than the king of sales himself, Jeffrey Gitomer. Jeffrey's mission is to help salespeople capture every possible sales opportunity. His best-selling book, The Little Red Book of Selling, got it right here, Gino, was actually the first business book that I ever read. I was in Poughkeepsie, New York at the time, picked it up at Borders. It set me on fire to become a lifelong learner and fueled my passion for personal growth and development. So, Jeffrey, for me, I want to thank you and welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. I don't think I've ever heard a faster introduction. You must have taken the Evelyn Wood speed speaking course.
I take the speed speaking and I take the caffeine and I get it cranked up so we can bring the PMA, my friend.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay, cool. And, you know, it's interesting, so interesting to me that people who have a little bit of wealth tend to be so positive when they talk, and it attracts other people who want wealth. Have you ever noticed that?
Well,
like the people...
Yeah, someone mentioned to me the other day, Garrett Gunderson, he's talking about the reticulator activating device in your brain. I said, listen, I became financially free 2 years ago. Yeah, I sound like a schmuck now, but that's what he said to me. I said, 2 years ago, I became financially free. Now I've got all these opportunities. And he says, well, when you show up, you're positive, you're engaging, you want, people start to like you, those opportunities come. So I totally agree with you. And Mr. Stenziano, for you to read the first book with Jeffrey Gitomer, Jake doesn't read. So that's amazing that he actually read the book. So,
no, I can't read. That's the problem.
It has a lot of pictures.
This was good as like something to keep on the shelf, and I get it on Audible now. So
wow.
So guys,
a good thing.
Yeah, let's focus here a little bit because I want Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about your sales career in Manhattan and how you transitioned into more of the sales trainer role.
This is pretty interesting, and I don't know how your show is rated. I'm sure it's rated explicit. So
Triple X, bring the pain.
Gotcha. People will ask me all the time, well, how did you become an expert? In New York City, I made $1 million sales by cold calling Fortune 500 company CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the 70s when you could actually do that. It's very hard to do right now. But I would go to New York City and I had strategies. I lived in Florida at the time, in Lake County, Mount Dora, Florida, north of Orlando. And I had an imprinted sportswear factory. And I would go and sell my wares. But I had to do it in a way that was different than everybody else. When you're in New York and you don't have a sales game plan before you walk into someone's door, you're dead. And so I learned that I had to combine creativity and my talking skills in order to be able to engage somebody. So I have stories that at some point I'll put in a book, but these are stories where I made a game plan in advance to make a sale, and I did. And I can give you one short version. Whenever I was selling imprinted sportswear, women's, men's, whatever, people would say, well, can you make a sample? And I go, oh, shit, yeah, I can make a sample. So I have to fly back, make a sample, come back. Well, after 3 or 4 of those, I sat with my partners. I said, we're going to make the sample in advance, and I'm going to go to the city, spend $500, and we're going to make the sample, before I go. And so I go through my whole presentation, and the guy said, can you make a sample? And I'd say, I can make a sample, but I need to ask you 2 questions. If you like the sample, how many will you buy? And I'd wait for the answer. And I said, well, if you love the sample, how many will you buy? And I'd wait for the answer. And then I'd take my tie off and unbutton my shirt and rip it open. And I'd say, do you like it or do you love it? And I never, ever made a sample without making a sale. Every single, and I'm talking like 50,000 shirts, 8,000 dozen. It was big business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had the idea. If you don't walk into a sales call with an idea and a plan, you're a hurting gator, as they say in the South.
So anybody getting into sales, where did you learn your sales? I mean, reading books, mentors?
I sat with 5 guys and we took a sales lesson for 4 hours a day, every day for a year. We listened to cassette tapes, which was the new thing, watched movies on 16 millimeter movie screens, and we read 1 chapter of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich each day and did a book report on it. So there's only 15 chapters in the book. So we're going through the book literally once a month. And you gain a positive attitude before you become a great salesperson. That's the preamble of making sales, is believing in yourself and having the right state of mind. If you don't have that, you're pretty much a dead duck. So that's where I, got my comeuppance, and that's where I did my training. And then when I started to say, and I was doing at the time what was known as multi-level marketing, where the company was by the great Glenn W. Turner, Dare to Be Great. And when I got into doing products, it was like, oh, I have something tangible. I can show somebody something. This is amazing. And I went out and killed it. Literally, I killed it. But let me share something with you. I didn't know how good I was until I started to consult to other companies, and I go, you can't sell. So I started to train people how to sell. And then I started to write about it. In 1992, I started to write about it. That changed everything. Writing leads to wealth.
You made a great point. A lot of salesmen don't ask for the sale. You ask for the sale.
Every time.
Yeah. What are other big mistakes do you see salespeople making?
I'll tell you something. Just asking for the sale. When I walk into a big shit's office, like a CEO of some kind, I'll sit down and say, do you want to buy now or do you want to hear the pitch? So I've asked this guy for the sale. In the first 5 seconds, he's smiling or she's smiling. And they'll say something like, well, we're probably going to do something. I said, well, great, let's go eat. Why should I pitch something that I've already sold? Okay, so, but what salespeople truly lack in today's world is, number one, an understanding of who they are as a person. They think that if they learn all the stuff about selling, that they can go out and make a sale when they don't even know who the hell they are. And then they have to understand, why are they doing this? Well, I want to make a lot of money. Well, okay, why do you want to make a lot of money? Well, I want to send my kids to college. Okay, well, why do you want to send your kids to college? Well, because I never went to college. I never went to college. Well, why didn't you go to college? Because my father said I was stupid. See, that's a why. That's a why. I want to make a lot of money. That's not a why. I got to send my kids to college. That's not a why. So once they understand what their motive is and what their passion is, and they have a positive outlook on what the world is going to be like for them and a positive anticipation of sale, then they can start. Until then, but there's one more caveat. You have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, mediocrity will be your middle name. And you'll be pissed off and you'll be blaming other people for the guy didn't return my call. I always wondered who the guy was. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, the guy wouldn't set an appointment. The guy said he wasn't interested. No, dude, you were not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So once you take responsibility for what your crap is, then you can start to win. Until then, you're a loser.
So you're talking all about personal development, and we'd spoken a few minutes ago offline that I went to life coaching school to become a life coach, not to do this who-ha, but the who, what, and the how, right? I mean, people think life coaching is some kind of, I think every sales guy should get, I think every professional should have a life coach certification, because you're working on yourself. You're working on your why. You know, if you figure out your why, you'll figure out how to do it. That's what happened to me. I was stuck in a restaurant for 20 years. I hated it. And then I went through I went to the whole life coaching thing, and I figured out what I wanted. And I was never a sales guy. And now we're doing Jake and Gino, and it's all about creating value. And I love talking to people. I love helping people out. And the more people you can help out, it's not really, it's not really a sale. I mean, to me, it's not a sale anymore. And I think that's one thing people get stuck on. They get stuck on this salesman where, hey, I'm going out and pitching somebody, but I'm not pitching anybody. If you want my services, I'm here to help. And I think that's one thing that sales guys get lost on.
20 years ago, I trademarked a phrase: people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. And when you understand that part of the deal, like, you don't go out to get sold a car. You don't go out to get sold a suit of clothes. You don't go out to get sold a home. Like, hey, come on, honey, let's go get sold a house. No, that's not how it works. People go and they want to buy something, and the salesperson doesn't quite get that. They try to push what they have instead of pull in. And you can pull in so easily with a question. If you go to buy a car, you ever go buy a car? You guys have cars? Mm-hmm. Once you leave Brooklyn, you need a car. So people don't understand. Half the population in New York City has no car. 20% of them have no driver's license. Half of them have no car. So you go into a car dealer, and the guy says, "You're looking for a new car today? Did you want to lease or buy today? Do you have a trade-in today? What's your budget today?" Well, if it wasn't for the word today, they couldn't even speak. Meanwhile, the guy has already done the research. And he has a little piece of paper that tells him exactly what he wants, exactly how he wants it. And he pulls the paper out and he says, "This is what I'm willing to pay for the car. I want the car today. Can you take this to your daddy and get it approved?" And they have no concept of, you know what I mean? Okay, so if I was selling cars and a guy walked into my car shop, I would say to the guy, "What's your favorite car in the whole place?" And immediately put the guy like, I said, "Have you driven one yet? Come on, let's go for a spin." And in the car, if I can't sell the guy that car with tactile involvement, I'm never going to sell him the car. Mm-hmm. So in 15 minutes, I'm going to find out if I got a sale or not. I'm not going to go through a bunch of hieroglyphic bullshit, And during the time, I'm going to say, look, 3 things are going to happen to your car. Number 1, the price you pay. Number 2, it's going to need service. And number 3, at some point, you're going to sell it. Oh, now there's a little part in the middle, like how you use it. Because, you don't want to buy a station wagon if you don't need a station wagon. Mm-hmm. Do they still sell station wagons?
They do.
Unfortunately. They call them like vans or something, right?
Yeah. It's an X6 or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I drive. I drive a Lexus. That's all I know. And when I need service, they come pick it up and kiss my ass. It's like the greatest thing on the planet.
They sold you on that, huh? Yeah.
Well, it's HendrickLexusofCharlotte.com if you ever want to buy a Lexus. They're unbelievable. But the challenge is, am I engaged? Am I emotionally engaged or not? Mm-hmm. Tell me about the best place you've ever driven. Okay. Like, if I'm going to buy golf clubs, do I want to, what brings you in today? I want a set of golf clubs. You steel or graphite? I don't know. Well, let me show you what's on sale. Dude, I walk into a golf shop and I'm going to say to the guy, "Tell me about the best golf shot you ever made." Mm-hmm. And he'll say, "Well, I got a hole in one." I said, "Really? Where'd you get it?" And he'll tell me the thing. I said, what club did you use?" "Oh, a 7-iron." "What hole was it?" "What was the weather?" When did that happen? 6 years ago. 6 years ago, the guy can remember the frickin' weather. You can't remember what you had for lunch yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I've engaged this guy emotionally. Mm-hmm. He's my pal now. And people don't understand the value of engagement. They don't understand about, if you're going to walk somebody through a multifamily unit, I want to ask them, where are they moving from? I want to understand, what caused the move? Not why are they moving? What caused the move? Because sometimes why is a question of interrogation. Women ask men why all the time. Men don't want to be asked why.
Yep.
It could be linked to something negative as well, so you want to try to avoid that and
yeah,
get more solutions focused. Yeah,
that's true. And I'm a new school salesperson. The old school of sales, if you ever listen to some of the bullshit that exists in the sales world, where they tell you to find the pain, my pain is none of your fucking business. But my pleasure is something that I can share.
Mm-hmm.
So I look for the pleasure. You tell me about your 9-year-old daughter. Shit, you want to see 1,000 pictures?
Mm-hmm.
You got pictures of your kids, do you?
All over the place.
Yeah. In your wallet, on your phone?
All over the place.
How old are your kids?
19, 16, 13, 10, 7, and 4.
Way to go.
Dude, I'd like to have another one. I'm trying to sell my wife, and she's like, I said, you want to have another one? She's like, I love you, but I don't love you that much. So I'm trying to sell her, so it's not going good for me. So.
Create more love than she did.
Well, she certainly knows how to do it.
She's amazing, my wife. Let me tell you something.
You got a lot of peanut butter and jelly around your house.
Dude, man, you have no idea. It's awesome. It's great. You're talking about selling with emotion and closing with logic. That's exactly what everybody should do, correct?
Yeah. But the sale is made emotionally,
mm-hmm.
and then it's justified logically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take that emotion all the way to the edge, and then let the other guy in his or her mind figure out that they've made the right choice. I'm going to reinforce their choice, but they have to figure out that they made the right choice. That's the whole deal. I need to plug something. In another month, the Sales Manifesto will be on the shelves. The Sales Manifesto is a compilation of what I've done, what's now, what's new, and what's next. You're going to get, it's now the end of November. Every single person who's listening to you is going to get emails in their box about how to have your best year ever. Like, seriously? How to have the best year ever? No, I'd rather have a shitty year. Yeah, please, exactly. How to have your best year ever. What I'm telling people in this book is how to have your best decade ever. Screw 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to play all my marbles in 1 year and then have to regroup the next year. I want to build so that I can have best decade. That's what gets you to financial freedom. You didn't get there in a year, did you?
Takes a lot of planning.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of hard work and a lot of get up early and a lot of, and the book has several New York phrases. It starts out by saying, if you're a vegetarian, this book is not for you. This book is all meat. And
can you share with the folks what a schmuck is too?
No. It's a euphemism. So here's the challenge. Salespeople need to wake up when I wake up in the morning, you're in my library right now. This is where I am in the morning for my first hour of the day. I read, I write, I prepare, and that causes me to think and create. So I've been doing those 5 things for 25 years. So far, I got 15 books. So far, I've made 2,500 corporate speeches and never made a sales call. My phone rings, people want to buy, we sell them. So that's the challenge that most people have because they wake up in the morning and they do other shit. They take a shower, they drink a cup of coffee, and then they, quote, go to work. I don't go to work. I'm at work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go anywhere. But I live in an old factory, and our offices are down the hall. So I have like a 15-meter walk to work. Well, actually, I don't even have an office in my office. I hang out in our home. And the challenge that most people have is they do things that are destructive to their own capability. Like you wake up in the morning and you watch the news. Like seriously? It's like who got beat up in a parking lot and what burnt down. And then they'll look at the traffic report. And if you live in a big city, let me give you the report. The roads are full all the time, both ways. Like, get over it.
Leave early.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if it's cloudy out, it's going to rain. So you don't need that shit. But people are addicted to the shit of their lives, and they feel like they can't get along without it. Well, now Mother Google will give you anything you want in 5 seconds. If you really need to know what happened last night, just Google it for, whether you're a CNNer or a Foxer, your news is there for you. Have you ever seen both of them? You ever look at both of them? Mm-hmm. Like I'll spend 5 minutes and look at both news. It's hysterical. Like there's two worlds.
There is. But you're talking about, people, actually preparing for the day. Shit happens to people. They don't prepare for the day. That's part of the problem that I see is that they're just not focused on what they want and they're all over the place. They're scattered and they're wasting time. They're not preparing for their day. That's
right. But I'm also writing. I'm a writer, mm-hmm. and I'm a sales guy, and I'm a dad and a granddad, and I'm a great friend and soon to be a husband again. But I'm a writer, and I wake up in the morning and I figure out what do I got to do. I'm writing right now something that I'm calling the greatest sales course of all time, and I'm going to sell it online for $99 with the book autographed, and it will contain a different strategy for getting ready to make a sale and a different strategy for going through the sale. There's no more open, probe, present, overcome objections, close. Those days are so over, it's not even funny. And if a guy gets up in front of you and said, these are the 5 best ways to close a sale, kick him in the nuts because that guy's hurting you. Mm-hmm. I'll share with everyone who's listening to you. I just have one thing that I asked somebody. Yeah, fair enough? Yeah, it's fair enough. Great. Here's how we're going to get started. And that's it. There's no manipulative, well, if I can do this tomorrow, would you be willing to move forward today? Like, seriously, dude, go away from me. Go away from me.
What else has changed? What else have you seen changed over the last 30, 40 years in selling?
I think that the most things that have changed is salespeople are no longer loyal to a company. They're willing to switch in a heartbeat.
But is that good or bad? Because they're not loyal to a product or loyal to something. Like if you're a GM and you're selling GM cars, and it'd be better if you liked GM and drove GM. Wouldn't it be better in that way? Yeah,
but they'll switch to Ford in a second if they can make $50 more a car.
But okay, they're making more money, right? But like you said, they're not adding value. They're not really loyal to the brand. So are they really?
I know. I'm to me, as I stated earlier, if you don't love what you do, something's wrong. Now that guy might love to sell cars. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care what car he sells. Mm-hmm. That guy might love to sell Ford, so he's going to sell a Ford, or loves to sell Lexus. Mm-hmm. There's a guy in our building who sells Lexus, and I go, "Would you sell something else?" He goes, "No, I love Lexus." Mm-hmm. That's why he makes a lot of money. He drives a Lexus. Yeah, I did a training. This is pretty interesting. I did a training for Lexus about 25 years ago at 6 o'clock in the morning. There were 60 sales guys in this little room because the guy didn't want me to take any floor time away. So I'm training from 6 until 8 when they open up the building. And I said, before we start, does anyone here not drive a Lexus? Raise your hand if you don't drive a Lexus. And 6 guys raised their hand, and I said, you have to leave. And it was like dead silence, and I said, if you don't drive it, how the hell can you sell it? You're going to sell an $80,000 car, and somebody's going to say, what are you driving? Well, I got this Mazda. Like, out. Just get out of my room. I'm not going to talk to you. And I made him leave. An hour and a half later, the GM of the agency came in and hugged me. Literally. They have a buy plan where you can own a Lexus for cheap dollars. If you don't drive, if you're not a product of your product, you can never win with it. Mm-hmm. So that's a change piece at this moment. There has to be some loyalty to the product because you use it and you can talk about it, brag about it yourself. The shoemaker's daughter has to have shoes.
Mm-hmm.
It
And they
probably
have to-
exists with Apple, though, no? Like, I feel like a brand like Apple, the folks in their stores are probably pretty loyal.
Oh, my God. I buy my Apple products at the North Lake Mall just north of Charlotte. Those people are disciples.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. Oh, hi, girls. They are. I got little doggies. Cavalier, King Charles, spoiled dogs. The Apple brand is so cultish. People come in there and they're willing to talk to each other about their iPhone or their iPad or whatever it is. And they have Microsoft stores in the same malls.
They're empty, dude.
Yeah, there's 5 people standing online bitching about their software. Or they're dancing in the aisle playing the Wii. That's it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or Xbox. But Apple has created a following that's, I've been an Apple customer since 1984. I have the very first Mac. And I go to the store. I know all the people. They treat me very nicely. We have a corporate account. But everybody in the company has a Mac. I don't understand why people would buy something else. And this is pretty interesting. You go someplace like a Verizon store where they have 7 different tablets. And the guy will say, well, just like an iPad. Okay, well, I'll take an iPad. Well, it's just like an iPhone. Okay, well, I'll take an iPhone. If it's just like it. And when you go to those stores, look at what they use. In the AT&T store and the Verizon store, they all use Apple products.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason. The guy who produces for me, Doug, to fix my machine when we first started, he bought a Surface about a year ago. And the other day I said, Doug, you're going to buy another Surface? He goes, never again. Because we're all Mac heads.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought it because it was cool and it had a touch screen, it had a pencil and all that shit. Now all of a sudden Apple's got a pencil that makes it look like a,
mm-hmm.
bent straw.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they catch up and go ahead. You don't need that much technology.
Let me ask you a question. We were talking about the real estate profession, and we have leasing agents, and we try to lease out our properties. Do you have any tips? I know you were talking about how the real estate profession is not the greatest at sales. Any tips on selling, office space or
Sure. The way the old Dale Carnegie thing is that you can get more people interested in you by becoming interested in them. So when someone comes in, they're on a mission of some kind. If I don't understand what their mission is, I'm never going to be able to get to what they want. But they don't want 5,000 square feet of office space. That just happens to be the vehicle to get them to what they want. They want some kind of environment. They want some kind of showcase. They want some kind of work environment. They want some kind of outcome in order to be able to affect that purchase. And if I'm the sales guy and I don't understand that, I'm never going to make it happen. Well, let me see all the 5,000 square footers we got. No, dude. No. What you're going to say to that person is, look, you come to the right place. I'm the best possible agent you could find in this city. And I'm going to find you the best office space that I possibly can, whether I lease it to you or I find somebody else to lease it to you. Is that fair enough? Yeah, it's fair enough. Okay, so I'm your guy. Now I need to understand, after you move in, what do you want to happen? What do you mean? Well, I mean, people are going to come to work. What do you want? Do you want them to be happy, pissed off, cold, hot? You want to pee in a corner? You want girls' rooms and boys' rooms? What do you want? And actually, what people want are clean toilets. You'd be amazed at how that can affect an entire organization, like the cleaning people. So you're going to say, look, I have a list of people that I recommend that will make your environment unbelievable. So when you move in, I'm going to make sure you have the best maintenance, the best service on the planet. Cool?
I can tell something. Listen, clean toilets matter. When I was driving around doing sales for Glaxo in Westchester, I know the clean toilets in the office spaces in Westchester County. It's important for guys, all right? You want to be private. I know the ones that had the newspapers available. Things like that matter, folks. It's
Totally
important.
Totally. By the way, from a Glaxo perspective, I had polyps on my vocal folds, and I had them operated on. And so I have a throat guy, and I'm in a doctor's office waiting for my doctor, and a sales kid walks in, opens up a drawer, puts a bunch of samples in there, closes the door, and spins around to leave. And I go, "You counting this as a sales call?" And the kid was like,
No, you said count it. That was the old move the guys used to do. They'd be like,
right.
Hey, Doc, I waved at him.
Yeah. I said, "Are you going to talk to the doctor?" He said, "No, the doctor's busy." I said, "Well, just hang with me. He's going to be here in 5 minutes. I'll let you have some of my time." And the kid left.
Wow.
Because he had nothing of value to say.
He wasn't
and so
prepared.
it totally unprepared. It didn't give a shit. You know, he's being paid a salary in a car and all the other crap. Drug companies are so stupid. Yeah. By the way, they basically eliminated all their salespeople.
Well, you've got one on the line right here, former, because they're more worried about their conformance and compliance than they are about compensating their guys who do sales. My boy there was a big vaccine dude. He was selling a lot of stuff, and they didn't really care what he was selling. They were more worried about how he was doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It was all spin selling bullshit. It was the old find the pain kind of crap. And I'm like, if we can build rapport with these guys and show them what they need and how our plan is going to fit better, but they didn't want to hear it. And that's where this is my little, I call it the yellow brick road. I plan every day out exactly what's going on. I've done it every Sunday for the last 10 years. And it used to be where I would go to see my doctors. And now it's everything that I'm doing time blocked for the day. And I have a plan and I'm prepared. This started back in the pharma world, but this shit works, guys. You gotta show up ready to go and know what you're doing.
I think that also the world has either become totally PC or totally un-PC. There's two levels in corporate America: HR and below, HR and above.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. HR and above is wide open. HR and below is you can't do anything now.
It's exactly how it was. Yep.
Not one thing left of center. We're so fragmented as a society. The politics of America have really driven a stake through the country because people are polarized.
Yep. That's the plan. That's what they want to happen right now. You know?
Well, whatever it is, it's working.
No, it's the division is like the new world order. That's what they say.
So then how do you sell in that environment? Okay, let's talk about we're in that environment right now. So how do you attack that environment and become successful in that environment? By
talking about individuals, not politics. People want to succeed regardless of who's in charge. And if you focus on the individual, you're going to win. If you focus on the environment, you're not going to win because the environment will always be polarizing. And regardless of who is in charge, as long as the economy is good, people will want to move forward. Mm-hmm. And we're in an economy right now where people want to move forward. Mm-hmm. And you can see it in your meetings. I don't care whether they're Democrats or Republicans or libertarians or communists. People all want to move forward. Mm-hmm. And you're in the right place at the right time. And what you need to do is don't worry about believing in the world. Just believe in yourself. You don't have enough time. Chapter 12.5 in the Little Red Book of Selling says, resign your position as general manager of the universe. And there's a reason for that. You don't have enough time to go out and cure the world. Just take care of your family. Just take care of yourself and take care of your business. And in the big scheme of things, whoever you're trying to serve, also help. Mm-hmm. So if you help them and you serve them, they'll buy. Mm-hmm. If you help them and you serve them, they'll buy. You don't need to know the manipulative process of spin selling. It's just bullshit. I can't stand it. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, to your point, I think create your own way, because that was the thing for me. I was stuck in this corporate grind and they kept dictating to and putting you in the box. And this is how you have to say it, repeat the script. And
right.
I felt like I was trapped in this box. I was a high performer, but they didn't give a shit. So for me, it was I had to blast out of that, believe in myself enough to go do my own thing and not basically get rid of those handcuffs. So that's I think a huge part to it, that people are bold enough.
It's so interesting to me to read some of the big sales consulting firms where they focus on make your number. Like, dude, you're not making your number. You're making their number. Like your boss hands you a plan and says, we're going to increase by 11.5% this year, and here's your number. And then you make a goal to achieve their goal. And it's always funny to me, like, where'd they get that number? I'm going to tell you where they got it. They pulled it out of their ass. And they figured out that if we do this, the shareholder value will do this, this, and this. And I have a team of sales guys that are going to go out there and do it. And then you have the CEO goes on television, Lou Dobbs or whatever, and they're talking about market share and they're talking about products. They never thank the sales guy that went out and busted his balls to be able to make it happen. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to thank my sales guys for letting me take a limo. No, ever. Pisses me off.
Well, and then the marketing people treat the sales guys like they're idiots.
Well, there's a reversal for that. But I think that the real challenge is I tell large sales teams that when the marketing department gives you a deck of slides, give them back, tell them to make 5 sales, and report their findings.
Like, I mean, that got bad towards the end of my thing.
Horrible. Because they don't have an understanding of what will bring in revenue. They have an understanding of how to convey a message, but they can't convert that to money. And that's the whole deal. At some point, somebody has to bring in the money. And in your business, at some point, somebody has to lease a unit, or somebody has to lease an office, or somebody has to, actually make that sale happen. So there's contracts, and there's attorneys, and there's bullshit back and forth, and there's out clauses, and there's penalties, and there's, your leases that used to be 2 pages are now 22 pages. And you better be able to read well.
Well, you've written more books than Jake has read, so I'm impressed with that aspect of it. So that's awesome. Before we get to the short answer questions, I want to ask you one more question. What is your best tip? Somebody who wants to get into sales, they want to really, start ramping it up, because sales to me, I think, is financial freedom, because you control your own destiny.
Totally.
What's your best tip for that?
Well, let me break it down. First of all, you have to be able to tolerate the risk. Mm-hmm. Because sales is a risk. You're betting on yourself. Most people will bet on a new car, or they'll bet on a new house. They won't bet on themselves. Mm-hmm. So at some point, you have to have risk tolerance in order to be able to enter the field. The second thing is, if you don't start out loving it, there's going to be no passion when you go home and deal with it. And people go, how do you create work balance? And I said, well, in the beginning, if you're not working out of balance, your checkbook will be. And so they get that part, and then they have to start to dedicate themselves to personal excellence. It's not about learning every sales technique. It's about being the best person you can be for yourself. There's other things we could talk about the next time we're together. And I'd like you guys to come on my Sell or Die podcast. We're only at 100,000 downloads a month, but we're...
Dude, that'd be great.
It's like serious. Yeah. It's unbelievable what has happened with podcasting.
Yeah, and that's the message. You can relay your message. I mean, everyone complains about the new wave things going on, and it's instant gratification. But you can actually start conveying your message, get your message out there in this economy fairly easily if you can figure it out and take the risk, right, and learn.
Oh yeah, when I started, if I didn't write an article that got into a newspaper or a magazine, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Now with the internet, you can create your own email magazine that's more powerful than the New York Times. Mm-hmm. And my circulation of my weekly email newsletter exceeds all the papers that I used to be in combined. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's so easy right now. The problem is, you go to your LinkedIn. You have a LinkedIn?
Yes, mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah. How many people you got on your LinkedIn?
Almost 7,000.
And you, Jake?
Not as many as him, maybe 2 or 3 or something like that.
Okay. But you look at the feed, and you see all these people that are in there, they're offering advice.
Yeah.
Like, who are these people?
Yes.
Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
And the challenge that you have is to get rid of the things that aren't affecting you personally, that you can affect in response when you get that information.
Mm-hmm.
Can this affect you in a positive way? That one of the reasons not to watch the news is you can't affect it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't affect the weather. You're just a victim of it. You can't affect the traffic. You're a victim of it. So try to pay attention to the things that you can affect. I would also tell a new salesperson, you're going to go home and you're going to have a beer and you're going to watch television. Just ask yourself this question while you're watching the TV show. Will watching this show double my income? And if it won't, turn it the hell off and figure out something that will. Because you have to work on yourself for hours and hours and hours, or the results are not going to be what you want them to be. And Gino, how many years did it take you to get to a point where you realized, I can't be doing this anymore? I got to start to work on myself.
It took a long time. I was 40 years old, dude. And I mean, I was comfortable. That's a problem. I was a little too comfortable. But then when the economy came and dad passed away and I'm sitting in the kitchen, I'm like, this is not for me anymore. And that pain became very relevant. And that's what I realized. That's why I want to affect guys who are younger than me to say, don't wait for that pain. Get ahead of that pain.
Exactly. And what about you, Jake? How long did it take you?
Well, he found me, so he was a lot younger, thank God, because he was, we got together, and I don't want to speak for him, but he's a smart dude. He's a very, very motivated guy, and he figured out that he was in the rat race. He was comfortable too, but I think from what I saw when we met, he wanted to really affect the world and really start a business. He was a W-2 guy. He had no business skills whatsoever. In a matter of 5 years, he's a freaking business maven. I'm telling you, seriously. I'm not trying to sell it.
Well, I got down here to Knoxville by myself. My wife hadn't moved yet, and so I was down here selling vaccines, crushing it. And I was driving around just listening to audiobooks. I listened to Steve Jobs' autobiography.
Isn't that good?
Fucking amazing.
I know.
That shit got me so fired up. And then it took us 2 years to get our first apartment deal. And then we went from a 25-unit little shit apartment to, we're over 1,000 units now within a 5-year span. And it was just, like I said, it was getting rid of the corporate handcuffs and allowing me to be free and rise. I was hitting the ceiling every year with the corporate job, but it's amazing what can can happen if you believe in yourself and you take a chance.
Have you interviewed Theo Andros yet?
I have not.
Write his name down. Theo, Androus. You can probably Google him and find him, but if you can't, I got his numbers.
Okay.
He does what you do, invest in apartments.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, and he's a great guy, a lifelong friend of mine, just a great, great guy.
Cool. We'll definitely get him.
So what's the lightning round? Come on, hit me.
I got two. Well, I got two more, and I wanted to ask you this because I remember reading something of yours a while ago, and I think it was your granddaughter that spilled the milk or something, and you said first spill of the day.
Right.
And that really pushed me back because like I can get irritated at times, and I'm like, you tend to get wound up, but it's not worth it. So tell me why positive mental attitude is so important.
I should tell you that happened when my granddaughter was 8. She's now 20.
She
But she gives my
for a while.
she gives my book out because she's in it. The positive mental attitude sets your mind that you can do it. Like I'll tell people all the time in the airport or on the phone, tell me what you can do, not what you can't do. Because most people will tell you, you call somebody up from a lumber yard and you want a bunch of stuff and they go, oh, the trucks are all loaded. We can't do anything. Like, dude, tell me what you can do.
Mm-hmm. And
most people start out defensively with what you cannot do. They tell you what the policy is. You can't take this flight. You can't get upgraded, whatever it is. Like, no, tell me what you can do. And usually there's dead silence. Like they don't know what they can do. So the positive aspect is the salesperson with the right attitude will walk in and tell the prospect what can be done. These are the real reasons that you might want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
These are the best outcomes that you can have by taking this space or by leasing this apartment or by leasing this office space or even by buying the building. There are amazing outcomes. Like I invest in real estate in my building, and I can tell you that thank God I did it. I kind of got trapped into it when I first started. I leased 2 lofts in this old factory because they were right next to each other. And I asked the guy, could I bang through the wall and could I have an option to purchase? And they said, yeah. So I leased it. And a year later, I opted in. They were $150,000 a piece. And I get a contract. They had imputed all of my rent for the next 3 years. And it was like $300,000 a piece. I'd go, dude. So I take it to my lawyer. And I said, can you do anything with this? And it was another lawyer who was one of the partners. And my lawyers have teeth. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the meanest motherfucking lawyer in the city, you lose. So my lawyer goes, hey, this is no problem. So he writes a letter to the guy saying, if you don't change this, we're going to have you disbarred. Now, not like it's not the right thing, you're broken the law. Like, no. We're going to have you disbarred.
He sounds like a Trump guy. That's for sure. He goes way over the top, bro.
You know, in an hour, in 1 hour, it was redone. Totally cool. But that's what the real estate market is. There's a lot of guys in there that are kind of snaky.
Yeah, it can be tough for sure.
Yeah.
So your reading list, I don't know if you still have it on your website, but I remember you had a reading list back in the day. And I read so many of those books. And the one book that really changed my life was Atlas Shrugged. It was on there, and it kept popping up in different places. This book, it literally changed my life. Give G-Dad here your best sales pitch on why to read it, because I keep pushing him to read it. He hasn't done it yet.
Listen,
I think I got that guy to push him over. No, Gino, hold on.
Don't give me that 6 kids shit either.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
You set aside an hour a day and you fucking read it.
I need Gitomer's best sales pitch on why.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. When you get to page 475, figure out a place where you can go for 3 days and do nothing, because you're going to not be able to put the book down. It is an adventure in entrepreneurialism versus creeps.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hat. Shit, it's not here. I have a hat that says Atlas Shrugged. It's no longer a novel. We're in the middle of that book right now, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And the revolution or the evolution is happening right in front of you, and you're missing it because you haven't read. The book is so well written by a woman whose native language is not English. And it's just a treasure to read. Like, I didn't read it fast. I read slow because I just loved every second of it. And I have you can't see it from here, but I have a shrine to Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged, Who Needs Philosophy? I mean, I've read everything. And I'm not an objectivist, but I am a realist, and she's a pragmatist. And what happens when you read it is you get a whole new outlook on what you need to do and how you need to move forward. Mm-hmm. I will sometimes ask an audience, how many of you have read Atlas Shrugged? And maybe 10 people out of an audience of 300 will raise their hand. I say, well, keep your hand up if it's the best book you ever read. And everyone leaves their hand up. It's a life changer and a game changer. And if you don't read it, fuck you.
Oh, man.
You guys are killing me over here. It's not the 6 kids. I read a book a week. And
bullshit. You can't read. Here's the deal, though. The hardest part of
it's really big and overwhelming. I see the 1,000. That's what's holding me back. So I have to get over that mind block. I'm going to be stuck for the next month reading only one book.
I'm going to tell you what the worst part is. You'll read the first 100, 200 pages twice because you think, where am I? You don't even know where you are.
3 times, Gino, I've gone through that book.
Yeah. But the first 200 pages I read before I could get to page 250, I had to read the first 200 pages twice.
You guys are losing me now, right? You know that? It's not good. You're losing me here.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's worth it. If you have any respect for me and you'll just do it. Otherwise, we're going to beat the shit out of you.
We're coming for you.
Huh?
I said, we're coming for him. So
yeah, we're going to come over to your house and take away your wife, so you have to take care of all the kids.
Yeah, done, bro. That's the sale right there, man.
Jeffrey, any other book recommendations that you've read in the last few years that just, really good business books that you want to share with folks?
I'm a collector of books, and so I read an awful lot of old books. I've been reading a lot of Elbert Hubbard books. He's the guy that wrote Message to Garcia. It's old kind of stuff, and I've been rereading a lot of Napoleon Hill books. I have this a couple of months ago. This launched the Napoleon Hill book of Truthful Living. It's his writings 20 years before Think and Grow Rich. It's the original concepts of Think and Grow Rich, and the foundation asked me to annotate it and edit it. So Napoleon Hill's on the cover.
We got to get that, Gino.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. This you can order it on Amazon.
Yeah, I'll get that today.
And it's audio as well. I read it.
That's a book of the month, Jake, right there for us.
Yeah. It's a real good one. Truthful Living, Napoleon Hill.
Jeffrey, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you when they want to start working with you and your company?
Just go to Gitomer.com or dial 704-333-1112. We answer the phone live 24/7. No one's here. We have an answering service, but I've answered my phone live for 25 years. I just feel like people want to hear hello.
Yeah, I love
not like, so, thanks for calling. Your call is real important. Well, if it's so fucking important, why don't you answer the phone? But Gitomer.com is the easiest way to find me. Or you can listen to the podcast, Sell or Die podcast. It's killing it. I mean, we're blown away by the response, blown away by the guests that we get. And you guys will see when we'll have you on the show, and you can talk about anything you want. But what I'd really like you to talk about is when did you realize that sales was important in your life, and if you did it right, it's fun.
Well, listen, it changed my life because I was going to be a gym teacher, and I got on the phone with my dad, and I said, this is stupid. I was working at Radio Shack full-time commission, and I blew it away. I was number one in the district for right out of the gates, and I held that until I left, and he's like, well, I can get you in with this, this drug rep stuff because my dad worked in a hospital. So, one thing led to another. I got into that, and then it basically led to my real estate career. So I through and through a sales guy and will always be, and appreciate everything that you did for me early on with the Little Red Book of Selling, because it basically got me going in the right direction. So
see, let me explain something to the Ginos of the world. Are you with me there, Bob?
I'm here, bro. I'm listening. I'm all
Little Red Book of Selling and Atlas Shrugged launched him.
It's true.
You're only halfway launched.
We got to maximize your potential, G. You have such a high ceiling so far.
I'm going to tell you, you'll buy the hat. Like I wear my Who is John Gold shirt all the time, or my Who is John Gold hat, and people will come up to me and they go, "Who's John Gold?" I'm like,
I got it on my license plate.
Oh yeah, cool.
I got a thing around my license plate so I can see it.
People become devoted to the process of it, because in the end, the entrepreneur prevails. And we'll have an offline discussion when we're not recording things, but it's very powerful. And I can tell you that the guys that are most successful in the MLM world are all Atlas Shrugged heads, all of them. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fun to talk to people about how it affected them. And what like I put that book down, I go, holy moly. First of all, it's a journey book. But second of all, it's so refreshing when you're done. It's like, okay, I'm fine now. Everything's going to be all right.
Things are clear. Like we filled
totally
the
clear.
Yeah.
Totally clear. So, but it is not a game changer. It's a life changer, literally. It's a thought changer. And this woman I'll tell you the coolest part about Atlas Shrugged, I don't know whether you know it or not. You can't date it. There's not one date reference in the entire book. You don't know when it took place. You have no concept of. There
was not year dates, but there was the calendar. Yeah. It was on the, yeah.
So but the references were so obscure, and she did that on purpose. Like, you can't tell where you are, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And she's talking about the Elon Musks of the world, and she's not talking about, your average Joe, but it's basically about the railroad. And every time I'm in a train, every freaking time I'm in a train, I'm reliving it.
It's awesome.
It's up to you.
I'm going to, listen, every couple of weeks we get another guy on there that goes through the same thing. So we're going to get him there. It's become, I think, my mission, right, to get Gino on board with it. So,
well, Gino,
I have to. So.
Okay, so do you have a more fast questions for me?
No, that's it. We're good. So I appreciate everything, Jeffrey. It's been fantastic.
Cool. Let me know when you've stopped the recording.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think we're going to stop now. So, Jeffrey, thanks for your time.
I just want to tell everybody that they have to go and opt in on his website because he sends out some great marketing stuff. It's not selling stuff. It's great information. Whatever business you're in, you are all selling.
Yes.
Whether you're in the restaurant, whether you're a vaccine guy, whether you're buying apartments because you're selling the broker. So you need to learn how to sell. And to be interesting, you have to be interested. That's another thing that Jeffrey said and a lot of sales guys say. So opt into his website, start getting information, start buying his books. The Sales Manifesto is coming out. Just buy it. You need to buy it. So I just want to
People don't like to be sold, but they love to buy, Gino.
Bingo.
Thanks a lot, Jeffrey. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hey, it's a doggone pleasure.